Simple as that, Dad said, raising his glass like a judge passing a sentence. You'll be paying your brother's loan from now on, Lena. Everyone at the New Year's table laughed like it was some kind of joke. The chandelier light trembled above us, reflecting in the champagne, and I remember thinking, what a perfect way to start another year in a house where love always had conditions. Hi everyone, my name is Lena Ashford. And that night, while fireworks burst outside our frozen windows, my family decided that my success was a resource they could drain. My brother, Mason, grinned across the table, pretending to be embarrassed. Come on, Dad, she doesn't have to. Oh, she will, Dad cut in, voice firm but proud. It's about time she gave back. You've been spoiled long enough by her luck. Spoiled? The word hit like cold water. I looked at Mason's watch, the one I'd helped him buy for his business launch 2 years ago. The same business that collapsed in 6 months, leaving me quietly covering his debts while he played victim. Dad, I said, trying to steady my tone, I've already helped him. He slammed his glass down. Enough. Family helps family. If you can't do that, maybe you shouldn't be part of it. A strange calm came over me. That familiar sting of humiliation. I'd worn it too many times to flinch anymore. Mom looked away. Mason adjusted his collar, pretending this wasn't his fault. I sat there, surrounded by laughter that didn't reach anyone's eyes. Then Dad leaned back, satisfied. So it's settled. Outside, fireworks cracked like thunder, but the silence between us was louder. I lifted my glass, felt the bubbles sting my throat, and said quietly, then goodbye. The room froze. Dad blinked. What did you just say? I met his stare, steady and slow. Good luck paying your problems. I stood up, the chair scraping against the floor like a closing door. Their laughter died. Mason's mouth hung open. And as I walked toward the door, the reflection in the glass showed me exactly what I'd become. Not their daughter, not their provider. Just the only one finally brave enough to leave. That was the night the debt shifted, not financial but moral. I didn't wait for anyone to stop me. The echo of my heels against the marble floor was the only applause I needed. Behind me, I heard Mason's voice break the silence. Dad, she'll come back. She always does. But I didn't. Outside, the air bit my face with January frost. Snow fell in thick flakes, muting the world. My car was parked beneath the old oak tree, the one my grandfather planted, the only man who ever believed in me. As I sat inside, hands trembling against the steering wheel, my phone lit up with messages. Mom, don't make a scene. You'll regret this. Dad, you're done here, Lena. Don't come back. I watched the words blur through tears I didn't want to admit were there. It wasn't just the betrayal. It was the realization that love in my family had always come with a price tag. When I finally drove off, I didn't look back at the glowing house. I looked ahead, at the city lights, at the empty road, at my own reflection in the window. Something inside me whispered they just cut off the wrong person. That night, I made a silent promise. I would build something they could never touch. And when they came crawling, because I knew they would, I'd make them remember every cruel laugh that followed my goodbye. Because this time the toast was mine to make. The following weeks were quiet, eerily so. No calls, no apologies. Just silence thick enough to make me realize how replaceable I'd always been to them. I threw myself into work. Long nights, endless coffee, hands shaking over spreadsheets and contracts. Every deal I closed, every late-night client call became a rebellion. I wasn't just earning, I was reclaiming. Then one morning an email popped up. Subject: Urgent, loan default notice, Ashford family account. I froze. The document was attached. My name still listed as co-signer. Mason had used my credentials from when I helped him years ago. Without my consent, he'd taken another loan, bigger this time. My chest went cold. I called the bank, my voice trembling but calm. Ms. Ashford, I'm afraid your father and brother assured us you were aware. Payments are overdue. Of course they did. The family that disowned me was still spending my name. I hung up and sat in silence, the city noise muffled behind double-glass windows. Anger didn't come, clarity did. If they wanted to drag me into their debt, I'd drag them into the truth. That night, I pulled out every old file, receipt, and email I had from Mason's fake company. I started documenting everything. Dates, transfers, signatures, even Dad's advice emails pushing me to fund him. They wanted to play with my money. I was about to play with their lies. The next morning I called my attorney, The same one who helped me draft my business contracts. His voice was calm, calculating. Lena, you've got enough here to prove fraud. Especially with those emails. But, are you sure you want to go against your family? I laughed softly. They went against me first. By noon he had already begun the legal process. The bank froze the account under investigation. Within hours, Dad's credit line was locked and Mason's car, the one he bragged about on social media, was repossessed right in front of his girlfriend's cafe. The fallout was quick and loud. My phone buzzed non-stop. Dad, what did you do? Mason, you're ruining us. I didn't reply. Not yet. Instead, I sat by my window sipping black coffee, watching the same snow melt on the street where I once walked home crying. I felt peace. Not joy, not triumph. Peace. But deep inside, I knew this was only the beginning. My father wasn't the type to accept defeat. He'd twist the story until I looked like the villain just as he always had. So before he could poison the narrative, I printed every document and prepared one final move. A quiet meeting request to the same board members he'd bragged to about being family men. If he wanted a war, I'd bring the truth, wrapped in his own signature. The boardroom smelled like mahogany and tension. Every man at the long table wore the same polite confusion when I walked in. My father sat at the head, stiff and red-faced. Mason was beside him, pretending to check his phone. Gentlemen, I said, placing a neat folder on the table. This won't take long. Dad forced a smile. Lena, what are you doing here? This is a private meeting. It was, I replied, sliding the folder across to the chairman. Until your company started using my financial identity. The chairman's brows knit together as he opened the file. The documents spoke louder than I ever could. Forged signatures, emails, fake invoices. Each page peeled away the image Dad had built for decades. Dad's voice cracked. You don't understand. No, I do, I cut in. I understand perfectly. You used my credit to secure a loan for Mason's failure, then tried to make me the scapegoat. The room went silent. Mason finally looked up, pale. Dad, you said she'd never find out. Every eye turned to him. My father's jaw clenched. He tried to recover, but the damage was done. The chairman cleared his throat. Mr. Ashford, I think we'll handle this internally. I stood, gathering my coat. Please do. Just make sure my name is cleared. As I left, Dad's voice trembled behind me, not in anger this time but fear. That was the sound of a throne beginning to crumble. By the next week, word spread through every corner of Dad's business circle. The respectable Ashford name had turned into a whispered cautionary tale. Clients pulled out, partners hesitated, and Mason disappeared from social media entirely. I should have felt vindicated. But truthfully, I just felt empty. Revenge isn't fire. It's frost, quiet, slow and numbing. Then late one night I got a knock on my apartment door. It was Mom. Her coat was wrinkled, her eyes hollow. He's sick, Lena, she said softly. Your father's blood pressure spiked. He keeps saying you destroyed everything. I didn't speak. She placed an envelope on the table, a hospital bill. We can't afford this now. Please, just talk to him. A bitter laugh escaped me before I could stop it. You mean the man who said I was done here? The one who forged my name. Tears welled in her eyes. He's still your father. I stared at the bill. The same man who once demanded I pay my brother's loan now couldn't pay his own. Karma had a cruel sense of balance. I'll visit, I said finally. Not for him. For me. That night as I lay awake, the image of Dad's smirk at that New Year's toast replayed in my head, and for the first time I realized something. Maybe this wasn't revenge anymore. Maybe it was closure. The hospital smelled like bleach and regret. Machines hummed softly as I walked into his room. Dad looked smaller than I remembered, a man deflated by the weight of his own pride. His eyes flickered open when he heard my footsteps. So, he rasped, voice dry, you came to see the damage you caused? I pulled up a chair, calm. No, Dad. I came to see the man who taught me what happens when you mistake control for love. He scoffed weakly. Everything I did was for this family. Was it? I asked quietly. Or was it for your ego, the one that couldn't stand your daughter being stronger than your son? He looked away. The silence between us stretched. Machines beeped steadily, counting seconds of truth. Finally, he muttered, I never thought you'd actually leave. I smiled sadly. Neither did I. I placed the hospital bill on the tray beside him. You'll be fine, Dad. The hospital's been paid. Not because you deserve it, but because I do. His head turned sharply. You paid? Yes. One last time. But this time it's not charity. It's closure. He looked at me then, not as a daughter to control but as someone beyond his reach. For once he said nothing. As I walked out, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt light. Because some debts are repaid not with money but with indifference. A month later, winter began to fade, and with it the last trace of guilt I'd carried for years. The house I once called home was listed for sale. My father's debts, Mason's failures, all tangled in the same crumbling legacy. I watched from across the street as strangers toured the place, their laughter echoing faintly. The same walls that once heard my humiliation now whispered its own downfall. A notification pinged on my phone. An email from the bank confirming that my name had been officially cleared from every joint account. My identity, my record, my peace restored. And yet I didn't smile. I just breathed. I'd spent so long trying to prove I wasn't what they said I was. Selfish, cold, ungrateful. When all I ever wanted was to be loved without conditions. But that kind of love can't exist in a house built on control. Weeks later, I got one final letter from Mason. You were right. Dad's gone to live with Aunt May. He keeps your photo on his desk. I don't expect forgiveness, but I understand now. I folded the paper and placed it in a drawer without replying. Some stories don't need sequels. That night, I poured a glass of champagne, alone this time, and stood on my balcony under the quiet hum of the city. I raised it toward the sky and whispered, to endings that finally set you free.